What's going on, everybody? We're back for another episode of the Crane Kicks Lex podcast. Of course, it's me, Tyler Crane, here with you yet again. After a fast turnaround, a weekend full of soccer, I managed to get my fill and then some. And of course, I'm joined by Kyle and Dylan, back for more, here to help us break everything down. We're going to talk a lot about recent results, especially for our W League and USL One teams, obviously. A lot of games to talk about in between the last time that we were here together. Some really awesome, some not so much. But we're going to get into that here in a second. Let's just kind of open it up. It's been a minute since we were together. Oh, though not really me and Dylan. We actually went to the W League game yesterday. So it's not been quite as long. But Dylan, how you doing, man? Let's start with you.
I'm doing good. Doing good. Today's been a pretty chill day. Got some like last minute things thrown on me at work today, so I had a bit scramble a little bit. So I'm looking forward to talking about the good game yesterday with you guys.
Yes.
How
Yeah,
are you?
the
How are
palate
you,
cleanser.
Tyler? How are you?
I'm doing better after that pick me up yesterday.
Yes, it was a pick me
We
up for sure.
were there, and a couple of people that work for LSC saw us, and they saw me, and they're like, "Oh, you came out for this?" And I was like, "I needed a chaser." And they're like, "Well, interesting choice because who knows how it's gonna go?" And then it went well. It went well. So it felt really good. Like the remainder of the night, my mood was much improved compared to how it was before. I mean, how can you not be happy when you drop 4 goals on a team, and not like a bad team either, a team that's been known to do well traditionally? So I mean, it was nice, and of course we got to
It
hang
was
out,
good.
and a lot of people came by and chatted with us, which was cool because the W League games are a pretty chill environment. So it was nice to be able to kind of socialize with people while you're watching and still cheer on the girls, which was good. Kyle, how you been, man? I think you had an exciting weekend as well.
Yeah, I was the Crane Kicks Lex man on the ground at the Kentucky baseball super regional. So had that covered. Went to the game on Saturday, and we actually went to the game last night. So I don't know when you're listening to this, but Sunday night that started at 9 p.m. Eastern, which everyone was stoked about. But the Cats took both games, and so they're on to the World Series for the first time ever. So yeah, it was an exciting weekend, obviously from a baseball standpoint, at least if you're a Lexington fan, and it was a really cool atmosphere at Kentucky Proud Park. So got to be involved in 2 games there, did some tailgating, got the Blackstone out, all the things. So yeah, it was a good time.
What was on the
Yeah, look,
Blackstone?
The first day we did smash burgers. I'm going to tell you right now, they were fantastic. That
Of course.
it was my first kind of foray into the Blackstone like specific griddle, and I was like, yeah, I mean these are probably pretty good. It absolutely was above and beyond my expectations. So those were fantastic. And then Sunday we did a little breakfast actually. So we did some sausage with some hash browns and pancakes. It was pretty cool. Out we were like in the blue lot there. So if you're a Kentucky football fan, you're probably familiar with where we were tailgating, but we had it set up and rocking and rolling. So it was good. No hot dogs though, unfortunately.
Oh man.
look, all I care about is you practice your hibachi skills before you invite us over.
Yeah,
That's all I want to see. I want to see you do the onion volcano
that's next. That's next
Oh
up for
and,
me.
yes.
and
Yeah,
then
that
flip
is.
a shrimp, and I'll catch it. Okay.
Yeah, and then toss the
I
egg and catch it in the hat.
Yes, everything, and then have like the little squirt bottle of sake,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's right. That way I tip even more. No, yeah, that's what I want. I want the full Blackstone Hibachi Kyle Piercy experience, and it'll be a
Absolutely.
thing. And
Yeah, it
then
was.
you know what? You start doing it at tailgates for LSC when we get our stadium. It'll be
Yeah,
the
I'll
Cranky Collects
I'll sell
sponsored.
some smash burgers.
Yes.
I will say that if you're a Blackstone user, you probably would have warned me of this. If it's windy, it's tough to get it going, get it up to heat. And it was so Saturday. It was quite funny. We had a group of people trying to block the wind from getting into the kind of up under the Blackstone where the heat is, where the flames are. And so that was kind of a sight to see. But once we got it going, once it was rolling, those smash burgers were fire. And obviously the Cats made it all the better with a big win Saturday, big win Sunday, technically Monday morning. Stayed up way past my bedtime, and so we were a few cups of coffee today before we felt normal, but was able to also watch the W League victory. That was exciting. And I was trying to like rack my brain a little bit, and I know we'll get into it some more about not that there needs to be a direct rivalry with Louisville, because I think a lot of our fans have kind of were maybe Louisville fans first, right? And just because of the regional thing. And but I was trying to think, like, is this the first victory against a Louisville, either a Racing or a Louisville City team at a USL level? USL
I
level,
believe so,
excuse me.
man.
So I think it is. I know we drew with them earlier this year, but in W League. But when it comes to the USL landscape, even like academy things like that, I feel like this is the first victory. So it was big. It's statement win.
I mean, I love that. There's a podcast, Butchertown Rundown. Becky Morgan's on there. I think it's Caitlin Whiteside, and then I think they have a third, if I remember right. Look, it's a really awesome podcast, but it's funny because our last matchup when we drew with them, they had tweeted me a couple times just joking about whether or not we'd beat them and all that, and so I kind of had to give it back a little bit this time when we won. Just a little bit of ribbing, but it was all in good fun stuff. You could definitely tell that they're just there for like having awesome soccer. That's really all that matters. So it was a good time, but I mean, I loved getting that win. And speaking of awesome soccer, we'll get in a little bit more to the W League stuff, but I got to ask, and I think you guys have seen a couple parts of matches. You guys been watching much TST, the soccer tournament?
I haven't seen a ton. I watched a little bit when
Yeah.
it started and we were talking about it. I watched
Mhm.
some of the clips. The clips have been really nice. They've been
Yeah.
really slick.
Yeah, it's one of those formats that makes, like, obviously I love traditional soccer, and I believe it is a beautiful game, but
It
it
is
when it goes to, like, when it's 7v7, and then when it gets to sort of that they overtime, or when you have that target goal and they
like
start
that witching hour.
yeah,
Yes.
they start bringing guys off the pitch, and then it's like 4v4, 3v3, and then I don't know if you all saw the semifinal with non EFC yesterday, 2v2,
Yes.
and you're just like, this is
Oh
electric.
man,
Yeah.
dude,
So
and like just the
it's been awesome.
tension.
Yeah.
Oh, the tension in
Um,
that game was wild. Whenever, like, right at the end, like they just kept passing back and forth, and the defender and the keeper just kept shifting to try and just make sure they had it covered. And you knew something was going to break. Either they were going to lose possession or somebody was going to score, and they scored. And it was just the excitement level, the fun factor, And I don't know how many people out there listening or watching had watched any of it. I got a chance to watch most of the first round of games in the group stages. I didn't get to see as many of the other ones past that because things going on, right? And then traveling to Knoxville. But my favorite team to follow when they were in it was Reggae Rovers. Reggae Rovers were insanely fun to watch, and they had me hooked the moment that they scored that super, some would say disrespectful. I'm gonna say
it was
amazing
disrespectful.
goal. It was disrespectful, but in the best
Yeah,
way.
yes.
In the
It was
best way.
amazing
I
too,
think
but
it
it
was
was
against
disrespectful.
yes. Oh, but it was so amazing, and I think it was
It was
against
against McAfee's
Pat
team.
McAfee's team, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever the guy gets the ball and he's facing the goal and the keeper's way out of goal, and he notices nobody's close enough and just kind of lightly taps it and just walks behind it as it slowly rolls in, and then one of their defenders just trucks him into the net, but by then it's too late. It pushes the ball all the way in, and I lost it. It was amazing. It was peak chaotic soccer.
Yeah, it was shithousery to the max.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Uh, and
100.
McAfee, like having McAfee, JJ Watt, like having some big profile personalities, but then also former soccer players. I think. I mean, non EFC. Obviously, I mentioned that. And even some of I know McAfee had some former U.S. men's national team members on his squad, so I think having some name recognition is
He
helpful
has
too.
a semi-soccer background too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his assist, he had an assist in their second match, and it was quite nice. The finish was filthy too. It was that scissor
Yeah,
kick finish, but the
Scissor
his
kick,
assist
scissor kick
wasn't bad.
finish
man.
was really like, oh, that was
Yeah.
Yeah,
tight. That was
yeah.
tight.
Man, and it threw me for a loop. I forget what match it was. I can't even remember the teams because I caught the highlight of it. But that one game when they went into target goal time and then the keeper threw it into the other goal and it counted. Like, I had no idea that that was allowed in
I completely
TST.
missed that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I can't remember how many players were down to. I think it was like either 4v4 or 3v3, and the keeper got a hold of the ball, and of course everybody's forward because they're trying to score in that target time because it's so chaotic. Nobody's really playing defense at that point, and he just chucks it, and you see the other team just haul back there to try and stop it, but it's too late, and it's even more disrespectful in the sense that it also just kind of rolls in slowly at the last second, but I had no idea that was part of it, but talk
That's
about an
rad.
extra layer to that chaos. It
That's
was
so
the
rad.
craziest thing. So it was a fun time. I really enjoyed watching. I know tonight was the finals for both the men's and the women's, which was really
Yeah.
cool that they had a final for each, both $1 million prizes, which I mean, I'm just saying, I'm willing to go out there and see if I can win $1 million. I'll probably blow both ACLs and we'll probably lose right away in the group stage, but you never know. Who knows?
Maybe
Maybe
you
a chaotic
guys
7v7 will work.
maybe you guys have more information on this, but I remember seeing today on Twitter, someone from Louisville played on the women's like US women's 7-on-7 team. Uh, I don't know if you guys saw that as well.
Well, and
I didn't catch that.
Paolo played on the for I think
Mhm.
Saturday boys or Saturday football or whatever. The Louisville City midfielder who's there forever, Del
Yeah.
Piccolo. He played this year, and I think they made it to maybe the quarters or semis too. Maybe I think quarters. So pretty
Yeah.
decent run for him. But yeah, it was kind of neat seeing some familiar names and faces. But I was watching that thinking, and this is going to be super kind of nerdy into a little bit of my background as in collegiate athletics, but in college field hockey, in overtime they remove players, and it goes from, I want to say it's, I'm going to forget, probably there's probably a field hockey person listening yelling at me, but I think it goes from 11v11 to like 7v7, and
Yeah.
it's just so much faster. The game's more open, and inevitably you get a goal
Mm-hmm.
pretty quick. And it made me think, especially watching this tournament, like, is every sport just better with fewer players, or at least more chaotic? I don't know if that means better, but like you just take people off the field or off the court, and you're like, I mean, what if in the NBA they just like, all right, guys, we're going 4v4? Like I'd be kind of electric, actually. I mean, hockey, I guess, does it, when you have power
Yeah.
plays. So I mean, I think it's built into
Right.
some sports, but I feel like others could just benefit from like,
Hockey goes to 3-on-3 in overtime, I think.
Mhm.
yeah,
And like you think futsal's starting to take off a little bit more,
yeah,
like the professional futsal leagues, and those are really, really fun to watch. I mean, like obviously it's different vibe. It's not quite, apples to apples, but they have fewer players and it's so fast paced, and it's just everybody scoring, and it's chaos, but fun chaos. And I don't know, I kind of like it,
I
and
mean,
I hope the TST thing keeps going.
yeah. I just think the idea of like, okay, it's a penalty. So let's say, basketball, Draymond Green punches someone below the belt, and it's like, all right, you get a
That
flagrant
never happened.
2. Yeah. Well, I'm just like hypothetically, obviously, like I'm just picking
Yeah,
player.
obviously.
It keeps just on top of my mind. I don't even know why. Um, like, all right, it's a flagrant 1. You're down a man for 2 minutes or whatever. I don't know. Now you're playing like 5v4 in basketball. I don't know. Just could be kind of fun wrinkle for different sports. Maybe that's an off-season podcast topic.
So you like the
Yeah.
blue card idea? Is that what are you vouching for the blue
Yeah.
cards?
I mean, why not?
Why not? I love it, man. No, it was a fun time. I really enjoy it. Like I was looking forward to this tournament so much. It was kind of unhealthy, just because last year when I stumbled upon it, like I heard rumblings and I started watching. And I was like, okay, this is fun. This is just like fun and no stress soccer. I know some people were invested in certain teams, like NCFC had a team there, so of course, like their fan base was watching, hoping they would win. But I think most people tended to be, for the most part, neutrals. And it's not often that you get to watch a lot of sports as a neutral, truly, like no implications at all for anything involving your fandom. And I think that was one of the best parts, or my most favorite part about it, is I wasn't really invested in anybody. Of course, I had a lot of teams I was like, okay, I like their vibe, I like their play style, this is cool, I hope they go further because I want to see more of this, like the Reggae Rovers. But never once was I like, oh my gosh, my team lost, what do I do now? Versus, whenever LSC loses, and then I sit in a dark room and I'm like, well, time to delete my account now. No, never. That's a lie. I shouldn't even joke about that. was the worst joke ever. Never do that. That's too
Nobody's
serious.
laughing. That's hockey for me though. NHL playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup Game 2's on, and it's like no dog in the fight.
Yeah.
They're just electric. They're so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of sports are like that though. Like the fun factor kind of ups whenever you don't have too much investment because you're not stressing the whole time. Of course, when you do have a lot of investment and you win, it's even more fun. So there's that argument to it too. So
The highs are
I wouldn't
higher
trade
for
it for the
sure.
world though.
Yeah.
We need the roller coaster. We need it. It's essential. All right. I had to get that TST stuff off my chest. I'll be looking for the TST check for promoting them later. It'll probably fuel the Crane Kick Selects podcast for the next 20 years based on the amount they're probably going to give us. So we'll see when that comes in and how far it takes us. But let's get back into the mix. We started out talking about the W League stuff. I kind of want to go back to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to start off on a high note because why not? I mean, we do have a couple of matches we have to mention. We do have to mention, unfortunately, the Indy 11 situation with W League. We traveled to Indy 11 last week, and it did not turn out very well. Indy 11 is legit, though, you guys. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
some people listening probably aren't really locked into W League. I get it. It's pre-professional and stuff, and not everybody's as invested, but you should be because it's awesome and W League rocks. But Indy 11 last year won it all. This year they're just a powerhouse. They're one of the top teams yet again, just crushing teams right and left. I think they've scored like 30 something goals and only let in like a handful so far in their
So
season.
they're like one of like so many unbeaten teams. There's like I think 7 or 8 something unbeaten teams in the
It's
whole
under a dozen.
league, and they are one of them. And
Yes.
it's crazy because there's a million teams.
Yeah, yeah, there's so many. So to be in that like final grouping of unbeaten teams is impressive. I mean, because they've got I think 5 wins and a single tie. Sorry, I misspoke there. So I haven't been beaten yet. So I knew it was going to be a tough matchup, but still I was hopeful. But man, they rocked us. It was tough watching them kind of score the same setup each time. They would cut
Yeah,
down our left
definitely.
side and then send the ball across in front of the goal in the box, and then somebody would always be waiting there, just ready to go. Not really waiting. They would kind of run out of nowhere, and you're like, "What just happened?" And they would score. But we redeemed ourselves this week. For we kind of like turned the tides. We flipped the tables. When you look at the teams that are in our division, Racing Louisville obviously has to be on your radar. Like you think about it, like I mean, they're a team that potentially those players are going to play for Racing Louisville in the NWSL, and so they're good. They have a good program. They're solid. You worry like what's going to happen. Last time we drew them, you kind of think, okay, well, are we going to be able to draw them this time? Are we going to show up differently? And wow, did we? I got to the match a little late. I was like 10 minutes in because I had just gotten back from Knoxville. And then I asked my wife, I was like, okay, can I go to the W League game? I'm going to meet Dylan. And she's like, yes, go. Get that out of your system. And I was like, thank you. And showed up. And we were like rocking it from the get-go. Like,
Yeah.
even though the first half was scoreless, it felt like we were in control that whole entire time. There wasn't really any moment where I was like, oh man, what are we doing? What's going to happen? It just felt like we were, just constantly taking our chances and doing our thing. And then after halftime, we really rocked it out.
Yeah.
And, I know, the team had to tweet out that our lineup was a little different because everybody was kind of questioning, like, what's up with Fishnick not being there? What's not like, we don't have Utley. She's not there, but they were there. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was like some weird thing to get into Racing Louisville's minds and be like, don't worry. They're not here. They can't hurt you, but they were there. And to think they had to like look over at the other bench and be like, oh, neat. They're here and they're going to be playing. Maybe that was a little bit of a mental game, right? Our admin getting in their heads. Not that they were paying attention at that point, but that's what I'm going to choose to believe. It was a solid game though. At that point, 4 goals, and not just from our traditional, names we were used to hearing, right? Like Daher gets on the board, which phenomenal player, but in the W League where there's so few stats and not that many highlights floating around, it's kind of hard to find information. You don't tend to hear a ton about players that aren't goal scorers or dropping assists. And so for as phenomenal a player as she is, her name doesn't come up very much in like various W League circles. So it was really, really cool to see her snag a goal and get that opportunity to shine. And it was a well earned goal. It was awesome. And then we go on and we have a hat trick on top of it from another player. So Dylan, you were there. We were with it. 3 goals.
Yeah.
3 goals off of a single player.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like there was really good football out there, like really quality. It was a good product on the field. It was really fun to watch. They were like clicking and like even in the first half they didn't get a goal, but they were knocking for sure. They were they were on the door. They were creating a lot of chances, and it was going very well for them. And you felt like something was going to happen. And then, they came out, they made some adjustments, they made some substitutions, and that was maybe the spark they needed. And it was awesome. And it was like a really good team play as well. And then the hat trick was just insane by Woods. Like her her read on the play was fantastic. The one I don't remember if it was her last goal or her second one, but she just stole it and it was like all on her own. Just took it from the opponent. Great interception, solo goal, no help needed. It was insane. It was fantastic. I had so much fun watching.
Each of those goals were well earned by her. Like she was beating defenders, whether in a foot race or it was like literally they're posted up and trying to block out her vantages, and she still slides past and gets what she needs to get from it. It was really, really cool, and she was so hyped. She was so hyped every time,
Yes.
and you could tell she wanted more. It was like once she got that goal, there was no stopping that desire. And every moment that she was just kind of like cheating the line and maybe got caught offside or couldn't quite get another goal off of it, there was like that energetic frustration, not that negative frustration, but like that, oh man, I'm going to get another one. And I'm bummed that I didn't get it this time, but next time it's mine. It's mine. I'm going to make them pay. And she did.
There
And
was like
you
an
start,
energy to there was like an energy to feed her too, like, "Oh,
yeah.
get her the ball." They were definitely trying to get her the ball, and that
Hmm.
was, like, really, really awesome, and, like, it was just fantastic team play altogether. Like, I loved how they were playing, like, just the way they were creating those chances was so fantastic, and just her display was
Mm,
just incredible.
it was awesome. Kyle, and you said you got to watch it, right? Man,
I
what are some of
did.
your thoughts?
Well, I thought I was really impressed with. You all have already kind of mentioned a lot of the attack, and to me, it was a lot of it was the counter attack as well, just from a solid
Yeah.
defense. Which I think now we're 6 matches in, and the defense this year from this W League team has been fantastic. 6 goals allowed, or sorry, 7 goals allowed in 6 matches, and obviously 4 against Indy 11. But defensively, I feel like this team has really kind of raised the bar from last summer, and it's led to quick counterattacking opportunities. And we saw that with Dawhair's first goal, and we saw that with a lot of attacking plays, even if they didn't end up in goals. And to me, a lot of it were these connecting passes. I mean, Fishnick had a few that were just absolute dimes, like the perfect weighted ball.
Hmm.
The one to Dawhair, comes to mind is maybe the most impressive just because it resulted in a goal. But I think she had another assist to Woods as well. So I mean,
Yeah.
there were passes that were being made, and just the field vision on some of these players is really impressive to watch. And I think that might be something too that I don't know if it's better from the broadcast, but it's certainly a little different than because I guess you can maybe see it from a different angle. But
Hmm.
it was so impressive to see some of the passes that this team's able to connect. And Fishnick, like I said, had a few that really stood out. I will say too, um, it probably could have been more because I think in the first half there were maybe 2 or 3 goal scoring opportunities from this team before some of those subs were made even
Yeah.
that didn't connect. And I'll give Utley credit because I feel like her motor is insane. I
Yeah.
Oh
mean,
man.
she's
She
always
was
always
She was
going.
putting it
Yeah.
on the net. She really was.
Great shift from her, and I feel like she's one that is just always going like 110. I know that's a cliche, but always
Oh,
going
for real.
hard. And there were some chances where I think the Louisville keeper really came up with some fantastic saves in the first half, and obviously
Yeah.
not quite as strong in the second, but just an impressive effort. I feel like from the W League squad, and Alan Kirkup and his staff have done a great job, and it's cool kind of seeing the progression from year 1 to 2. And so, yeah, I mean, you kind of start chopping at the bit a little bit, maybe to get back to see Indy 11. You kind of hope you can bring that form.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, and obviously, I don't know all the circumstances that go into it, but I don't believe we were at 100% full strength up in Indy. So, and who knows, maybe they weren't either. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously St. Charles up next, which is a team that I think we should handle relatively easily, considering we've already done that twice this season. But then a home match against Indy 11 on the 18th, so that'll be exciting.
Tyler, you mentioned like our weak point in the Indy 11 match was maybe that left side where they were coming down and they would make a cross, and it seemed like that was a point of impact in maybe the practice and the coaching, because the girls on the field were like on the bench were yelling like no more crosses when our left side was making those defensive stops like that maybe they wouldn't make last week,
Yeah.
and I
And
think
it
that
was
was a
cool the
point of
way they were
emphasis.
saying it too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's great that like they're learning from the mistakes and they're getting better, and I
Yeah.
love that chemistry that they have, and like that really like displays onto the pitch as well. It's really quality right now. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, because when they were yelling like that, no more crosses, it wasn't like a don't let any more crosses in. It was like a hype thing. It was like no more crosses today, like hyping up the players, and
Yes.
like the energy from the girls on the bench was insane. It was so much fun. And then like even the coaching staff, you could tell they were having fun with it, and they would kind of like joke every once in a while. And it was so nice to see like Alan Kirkup and his like style. It was kind of neat because he's so like laid back, but it's like
Yes.
he's laid back because he knows what they talked about. He trusts what they're going to do what he wants. And
He
he would
was so
like,
smooth with it.
verbalize reminders, but they weren't like over instructions. It wasn't like he was trying to sit there and, have the controller in his hand and be like, okay, now go here. It was more of like, okay, what are we doing? Okay, what do we know to do? It was like that type of stuff. And it was like those little verbal cues where it almost like reset them. And when they were like, okay, you're right. We know what to do. We know what to do. And we're going to handle our business. And so that confidence was really neat. And I don't know, it was a cool game. And not every game is going to be a blowout. But for me, I
Absolutely.
think the best thing is the bounce back. The bounce back from drawing against Racing and then coming back and being like, now we have a game plan. We're going to show them that we can beat them. And the bounce back from the Indy loss, right? It wasn't a, man, we lost 4-0. Like, what are we going to do now? It was, no, we're going to push forward. We're going to have a new game plan for the next person that we face, and we're going to show them what's up. So that was a great palate cleanser for this weekend. it was
For
great to
sure.
go off on a high note and then be there for it. And like I said, it's a cool vibe. I wish there were thousands of people at the W League matches recreating the same vibe that we have at other matches for like USL 1 games. But at the same time, it is nice like to go out there and everybody's cheering and having a good time, but it's so like casual at the same time that it just, I don't know.
Chill.
It was good
Chill
vibes.
vibes.
It was good vibes, And it also allowed for a lot more like conversation with people at the same time. So I don't know. I felt good about it. I'm ready for another W League match. I really am. It's like
It's
Kyle,
like
you said.
sometimes you go to you ever go to a concert and everyone just sits the whole time, and maybe this is just me being old, but I
Yeah.
went to like a Band of Horses concert a few months ago, and most people were just sitting. It was the best concert ever. It was just
I
cool.
love sitting.
I love
Yes.
sitting.
Yes.
I'm like, you know
No.
what?
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
100%.
Why don't we should do this more often? Just sit, and like that
Yes.
was the vibe. Man, that was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
When we
You
went to
don't
the
have to be
Fall
up
Out Boy
screaming.
concert, all I
Hmm.
wanted to do was sit. That was my
Yeah,
favorite part.
Yeah.
it's the best.
Oh,
And
you
like
didn't
I'm
know how
still
psyched I
enjoying the
was.
music.
Yeah. Everybody was sitting where we were at the Fall Out Boy concert, and I was like, my people, yes, you get it. You can still be into this and not be up standing. Like I'm down with this. It's still a vibe. Doesn't mean the energy's any less. Um, Yeah, I mean, it's good. I really am ready. Like you said, Kyle, I'm ready to take on Indy again. I want to see what happens. This isn't
Yes.
me sitting here like getting a big head and being like, oh, now we're going to thrash them. I know who they are. I know they're an extremely tough opponent, but you start craving like that next test and be like, okay, so
Want a
we pushed
challenge.
through adversity. So what are we going to do in the next one? And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to
It's
have that
also a
kind of
great
idea that
benchmark
might
to
happen.
have. It's a
Yeah,
great benchmark to have in our own division because
yeah,
it's like this is the top, right? Like they proved it
right,
last year. That looks like they're proving it again this year, and so
yeah,
you want to see what it's going to take to succeed in the W League. And
mhm,
I know the goal for this league ultimately isn't to win a W League championship for these players, right? Like it's about the opportunity, it's about the growth, and it's about whatever's next.
mhm,
Maybe it's Super League, maybe it's Division One soccer, whatever it is. But in the
yeah,
moment, it's still freaking cool to get 3 points and
yeah,
rep the crest. And I feel like what really came through, even through the broadcast, was like the camaraderie of this team and just celebrating the goals
mhm.
as a team. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, there was definitely good vibes between them. And and I do want to say too, there are a lot of divisions in the W League because there are a lot of teams. Dylan mentioned that earlier. And I, look through the standings and you'll see that there are teams that are like crushing it in their division, like killing everybody by 11, 13 goals and stuff. But what's always curious with me, and like part of me wants to reach out to a couple of people that I know are like involved heavily in the W League, and I probably will at some point. I want to know truly though, is it just because their division is a little bit softer, or is it because those teams really are like Indy 11 level? Because in my mind, if Indy 11 is still kind of carrying forward from last year where they won the whole thing and we only got beat by 4. I know that sounds weird to say we only got beat by 4, but when you see all these other teams getting destroyed by double digit goal amounts, and they're not even teams that won it last year, it's not like Indy 11, you start to kind of think, okay, well, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe we were kind of holding our own as best as we could. If it was any other team, would they have done that?
Maybe we're not slouches after all.
Yeah,
I,
you have a point.
I'll just say from working in college athletics, especially like I feel like the more like Division Three is the biggest division, right, in terms of schools,
Hmm.
and the difference between the top teams and the bottom teams is so vast. Like I mean, it's unbelievably vast, and I just have a feeling the W League is probably similar to where
Right.
and it's not like it's top heavy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
No.
the I think that like Indy 11 is one of those truly legit. Obviously, we saw it last year, but I think
Yeah.
that's where the playoffs come into to play. Of like you kind of start separating these teams, but then I feel like we're probably because even Racing Louisville, I think is I would put them in that kind of upper tier this year. Obviously, the results haven't been there,
Yeah.
but the last few years, I would put them in like that above average tier. So having
Right.
two good teams in our division, Kings Hammer is always competitive. It's like I feel like even though it's a smaller division, I feel like we have four really quality teams. Um, and it would be interesting to see if you dropped, Lexington into a different division where they might finish up. But I feel like the fact that there's so many teams, it's extremely hard to kind of to do that kind of cross comparison. And maybe there's a world where they don't just take the conference winners and some wild cards, but then they maybe take they do like a Europa League playoffs of like the next cut of teams, right? But I know again, it's not the point of this league to raise a trophy, but it still would be kind of neat to see where like the second tier stacks up across conferences, if that makes sense.
Anybody with the W League listening, Kyle's got the plan for you. Because I think it would be interesting. Like you said, I
All it
mean,
takes is
it,
money, you know.
yeah, that's all it takes. And after that TST plug, we got plenty of it. We can share with W League and then get this thing rolling.
Yeah,
It'll be fine. Surely they have a million laying around for us. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought, and it's something. It's almost one of those questions that you're not really necessarily going to get it answered, not unless you make it to the round where you're facing off against teams from other divisions. But to do that, you got to be top of the top. So, because I think our division only gets one entrant into the playoffs. So, at right now, it looks like it's going to be Indy. There's still some games left, so you never know. I mean, tides can change any moment, but Indy's a very tough team, so it's looking like it's probably going to be them. Doesn't mean that we don't want to take it to them and try our best to climb as high as we can or hopefully overtake them. But it would be cool to have those questions answered at some point. But right now, I'm just enjoying the vibes. I'm just enjoying the vibes of this team. It seems like they have really cool chemistry. It's fun. It's fun to watch them.
Fun.
It's
Very
it,
fun.
it is, and I feel like people are sleeping on it, and they shouldn't be. I feel like it's like the perfect environment, especially for like families. Not that the USL One games aren't, but I just feel like if you're wanting something where it's like I can go, it's free, right? Like I can go. There's no cost issue with me bringing like my kids, and then if one of my kids starts having like a meltdown in the middle of it, it's not like, man, I paid for these seats to be here. You can be like, all right, I can go take care of this, and then I can come back and keep enjoying it. It's just, I don't know, it just has like a really really cool vibe. I keep saying that, but it just does. It just does.
What's the vibe counter out for this? Are we doing a vibe counter? We should do that in the corner. Just put a little.
I just hope somebody's not taking Jaeger shots for the amount of times I say vibes. That would be a problem. But if we want to kind of switch vibe gears,
It's been a great podcast, you guys. I actually have to head out now.
yeah.
It sounds like
Dylan, you too?
sounds like now's a good time to just bounce, actually.
Yeah,
So
just
I don't know where
yeah.
the conversation's going, but it might just be better. Let you guys handle
First
it.
step of acceptance is avoidance. Is that right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, that
If I'm
sounds
like
legit.
yeah, it's like a kid. If I just close my eyes, it doesn't exist. So like,
Yeah.
hey, I wasn't able to watch, so it didn't happen. That's my
Yes.
thinking.
Yes. And you saved yourself a little bit of heartache. So no shade for you there. We do have 2 matches for the USL One team that happened since we were last together. Not such great results. Not at all. The first one being the Ford Madison match, where let's just get it out of the way. We looked completely lost. We looked completely outmatched. It was just tough. It was a tough watch to see us not have an answer for Madison. Aside from Khalid's goal, it was awesome to see him snag
Yep.
one, earn that PK, hammered it like, geez, the rocket from that
Yeah,
PK, that was
absolutely.
wild.
The
I always knew
bender.
he had a shot like that in him. You know what I mean? Like you just see him, he's like, I know Khalid could burn a hole through that net. But I guess we won't linger on it too much because I kind of want to hit both of these matches. But from that Ford Madison match, clearly that it was the one like shining moment. And this isn't me being a downer because we always believe on this pod. That's the whole reason we do this, right? If we didn't believe in our team and we didn't keep positivity, we wouldn't be doing this. But still, you have to say what's up, right? And like that Ford Madison match, it was really disheartening to just see that we were never able to get into a flow. Like everything that we did, Madison felt like they had an answer for. And I don't know if that's just me and maybe I was overreacting as I was watching it. But it just felt like, we would try something. Madison's there. We try this. Madison's there. We try that. Madison's there. They were just stifling. They
They
were
were
just stifling. And
swarming us.
they were. And
Absolutely.
we just couldn't quite find our way out of it. Minus that one momentary win. But it just kind of, you start to wonder, right? Because Madison's been on a really good trajectory since we beat them. We were the last team to beat them up to that point. And you started wondering, okay, like, are they just having like a decent run of form right now? Are they legit? What's going on? So part of the loss you take with a grain of salt because you're like, okay, you're hitting a team in form. Like what always happens to us. We always hit teams in form. Like right whenever teams decide, like, you know what, we're gonna play ball. And then you're like, okay, well, who's our next opponent? Lexington's our next opponent. But, that's not an excuse. We have to rise to that occasion. We can't just say, oh, a team decided to get in form. That's why they beat us. But still, there's a little bit of that going on. They're running through teams. They just are right now. And they're a really, really strong side. And it just felt like we just could not get it together. And, maybe we could have, because like later in the game, obviously we held them back a lot better. But those early goals, just the boom, 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 I think that's what really sunk into me the most was how they just hammered 3 on us immediately.
There
And
were
from
some
that point,
mistakes.
yes,
Just silly mistakes.
right. And it kind of feels like ghosts of LSC past because that type of stuff would happen to us last year where we would just have a momentary mistake and it would cost us. And then in this match, we had multiple momentary mistakes. You know what I mean? And that's all it
I was
takes
yeah.
for
Well,
goals
I
to
was
get
going to say
scored.
that this was an expansion team loss. Like this was like a loss you take as an expansion team, not quite
Yeah,
up. Maybe not a team full of professionals. Obviously everyone's a professional, but you know what I mean. Not a team full of experienced,
right.
professionals that wouldn't allow this type of performance to happen. Part of you also is kind of like, well, at least this one you can kind of burn the tape and move on. Hopefully, Madison is playing very well, obviously with a string of victories in a row. But I feel like Dylan said, and as you mentioned, Tyler, like the mistakes that last season, that was kind of the hallmark of the season. I feel like was, 89 minutes and 50 seconds of fantastic, hard nosed soccer, and then a momentary lapse of judgment, and all of a sudden it's 2-0 or it's 3-0. It's like it's just it's frustrating. And obviously we'll speak more about the One Knox match as well, which seemed a little bit at least more even, and obviously it wasn't the score and from the clips I was able to see. But that Madison match was just a uh, I don't know,
It's
when it
tough.
rains it pours. It was when it rains it pours. Like that was what it
Yeah.
was. That's what that saying was made for, was that type of game where even by the time Khalid got his, it was like maybe the team had already mentally sort of checked out. And so hopefully you can bury that one and move on. But as we saw Saturday, easier said than done.
Yeah. And it, I know that we had a similar situation with Chattanooga, but it was also different in the sense that like they scored, we would try and score, they'd score, we'd score. So it was like we were at least, finding answers to the problems they were presenting. And then we got the ultimate solution at the end, right? We just never did that with Madison. We never once found that breakthrough point. Minus the goal, I get it, but that was kind of the disheartening point. And you learn, you have those mistakes, you go back to the drawing board, see what you can do. The biggest problem though is like every team's different. And so even if you learn from the Madison loss and then you're like, okay, let's go to One Knox. One Knox is completely different than Madison, the way they play, the way they operate. And so go to the drawing board and you hope like, okay, lessons that we learned here, can we apply them here? And usually you can, but it just did not fall in our favor. And it just kind of stinks because it felt like we had a legit chance. Not to have a hard transition here, but One Knox, a lot of people going into that, you can't help but notice that they've beaten us every time except for once. And that one time was a draw. And it's just constant. It's constant struggles against that team. And it's not like they have a new coach. Like their coach has been consistent for the past 2 seasons. And so he kind of has a style. He does things a very particular way, and it's pretty well known. And we just can't ever find our way around that. So when we go into this One Knox game, it kind of feels like we're already on our back foot. The one saving grace, obviously, being that Jaeger has been kind to us. Yeah, Jaeger has been very kind to us. Like we've managed to pull through in these Jaeger Cup matches. They've been ugly at points, but we've been scrappy and we've pulled through and done what we need to do. But it was kind of interesting. I spoke about us going into this match, hopefully learning some lessons and kind of adjusting to things that we haven't done in the past. We kind of saw that in our lineup and our formation. Dylan, what was up with our lineup and formation that we had going on for this?
In a new look formation, we saw a All Night between the sticks. In front of him, there was a back five. Starting at left wing back was Anthony Patty. Next to him, Captain Jorge Corrales was at the left center back position. The middle center back getting his first start was Cici Uche. The right center back position was occupied by Ebby Akon, and our right wing back was Chris Liu Young. And then our midfield trio consisted of Jaden Onan on the left, Alexis Cerritos on the right, and our pivot in the middle was Abel Caputo. Darren Pell opted for a striker duo this time of Atez the Truth Diouf and Cameron Lancaster.
This was like an interesting look to me because I don't hate the idea of wing backs with like 3 backs and then 2 wing backs. I don't hate that at all. And when we're thinking defensively, it's hard to argue that it wasn't working. Like the first half, I mean, honestly, the whole game, you look statistically, there wasn't really a huge gap between us and One Knox. Obviously, there's a pretty big difference maker that occurs in the match, which we'll get to. But I kind of like the idea of the wingback situation. Um, Now, when we're thinking about using wingbacks, like I kind of like the idea of Tate being out there to start. Nothing against any of
Yeah.
our other players, but we've used him in that capacity before, and he's been a proven factor in the past. And he comes in later in the game, and the whole vibe changes. The whole
Anytime
game,
he is on anytime he is on the field, he is immediately dangerous. He
yes,
is
yeah,
creative and he is decisive and he gets things going. And if he's not, if he doesn't create the assist, he creates the second assist or the assist before that, he
right.
creates those things. He makes those things happen. And
It's
it's
true.
important. He should be an important part of the team, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, this is once again, there's nothing wrong with a lot of what was happening in the first half. It's just we couldn't find the net. Like that's the one piece that was wrong. And I guess I could say there was something else that stood out to me, and I don't know if it stood out to you guys quite as much. Kyle, I know you didn't get to really watch the game like we did, but we kept giving up fouls around the box. Like, and I will say again, like we don't like to be, the ref, but the ref was like pretty quick to call things. Like it was, like, okay, this happened. Yeah, absolutely. Which some of them were absolutely deserved. Like a few of our like little scuffles and whatnot for sure. But we kept giving them set piece chances all around the box in that first half. And it kind of continued into the second half too. But the first half, it would just seem like every 5 seconds there was another one and another one and another one, and you'd have to hold your breath. So I will say, despite us giving up those set piece opportunities, I was pretty pleased with how we held up in those moments. Now, a little
They
bit of it is
shanked.
not, yeah, shanking
Yeah,
some of those
they shanked
opportunities, right?
some.
Right. Like some of those, it just wasn't ever going to happen because they just booted it into that weird tree line that blocks the railroad, and the
I
ball was
thought that
lost in
I thought that
Narnia.
ball was lost forever,
it's,
dude.
it's in Narnia forever and ever. And,
It was funny
you
because
know,
then Amal got it immediately back, and it kind of looked like magically he got it. Like it
yes,
just
just popped out of the trees. You look
yeah.
over and Mark McKeever's eating Turkish delights. And I don't know. We're going too deep into the literary references now.
I actually need to look into that. I'm looking to do something similar in my backyard. That's expensive though. If
A
you're a new
Narnia
homeowner,
portal, yeah,
yeah,
that is
yeah, the Narnia
expensive.
portals
Yeah.
are. I would go for even something half that size. Just we've got a pretty ugly fence, but um, from what I was able to see, just like I said, I saw clips. I really wanted to watch the full match, start to finish. Just take my medicine today. Wasn't able to do that. Tried to kind of skip through some of the condensed version, so to speak. And I was impressed with at least some of the chances that our side was able to create. And it's not to. I guess I'm going to be a little bit of the optimist of like, it is a bit of a game of inches, right? Where you have a
Hmm.
ball off the post, that could have opened the scoring in our favor, right? Maybe that kind of changes the
Yeah.
tenor of the game a little bit. You have questionable call where their keeper slides and tackles Ates, and I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about that, but it just seems like. But then again, it goes to their first goal on a set piece and
Yeah.
a momentary lapse of judgment, not marking a guy and giving almost a free header away. I mean, it was essentially a free header for at least from a professional soccer player. That's about as easy as it could get. It felt like, and so yeah, I just from the clips I was able to watch, it seemed like one of those where if it was just in a vacuum, you could chalk it up to, hey, they had a little bit more of the bounces, more of the breaks go in, but the fact that it's on the
Hmm.
heels of that Madison match and just a recent trend of you know not playing one knocks as well as we should, it makes it feel
Right.
worse, right? Like it's like I said, in a vacuum, if you didn't have the jerseys or the kits on, and it was just 11v11 out on a field, like you would feel like they're much more evenly matched, and I think the stats would bear that out. But the fact that it's one knocks,
Right.
it's another loss. It just Yeah, it makes it feel worse. Like, oh, we've been here before, down this road, and we're little brother right now. I hate to say it, we're little brother.
Add in the dumb red card too.
Yeah, I
Like,
couldn't figure out what that was. What was that for? Was it?
There
it
was
the
like a
push in the
scuffle in the
box?
box.
it
No,
was
it
like
was
a
like
dumb it was like a dumb movement. It was so dumb.
yeah, like
Dumb
it was
on
two
Eddie's
yellows, I
part.
think.
The two yellow. Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if
The
I saw it
broadcast did
correctly,
not
because
do a great. The broadcast didn't do a great job of
So
showing what happened.
he got a yellow, and then he took it back and gave him then a red because he conferred with the sideline.
that's right. You're right, because I kind of got lost in
Mhm.
like all the chaos because I was watching 14 things at once whenever I was like there,
They
and
talked
so
about what
like
they saw, and then they realized that
yeah,
it was a really dumb thing to do to headbutt a guy, and it was deservingly a red card.
yeah, it definitely
A
changed things
headbutt
for us.
in Knoxville leading to a red card. Tale as
No.
old as time.
Song as old as rhyme. Anyway,
Yeah.
oh, we're about to get into Disney musical here. It just sucks. And you talked about the 2 goals. That second goal from Knox, that one was a tough one. I mean, like it was bang, bang, bang. And our defenders, I don't feel like we're in terrible positioning for what was happening. It was just tricky. It was tricky. Like they managed to do that sweet little back heel off of that crazy, touch line, kick back in. Um, it looked like Matoma in the World Cup, like sending it back in whenever it's about out, and they got us. That first goal, I don't know. Like I didn't notice this at first because it was on the other end from where I was sitting, but Chrysler absolutely Bobby Boucher's. I think it's Chris Liu Young to get in there to head that ball in. Like the dude comes from like 10 yards out and straight up tackles him as he's heading the ball, and you see like I think it's Chris get just like flattened by him, and I'm like, what the heck, man?
He came in like a
Which
missile, like
he did, like a freight train. It's like he insulted Chrysler's mom or something. The way he came at him, and
I have to
respect
go
for
back and
wanting the
watch
goal
that.
that bad, but it was
It felt
wild
like
because I
to
didn't.
me it looked like to me he had just better position.
this
Well,
was
he had
low
like
key
some
like a
space.
chippy game too.
Yeah, he had
That's
space,
fine.
and like
Yeah.
yeah, and I think, like I said, I think it was Chris. It's kind of hard to tell from the angle, but I'm pretty sure it's him. You see him notice Chrysler start to kind of like pick up speed, and he gets in front of him because he's like going to hold him up a little bit. And then Chrysler just decides, you know what, I'm going to spear him like I'm Goldberg. And then he does and gets a goal off of it. And I'm like, I guess we're cool with that now. I guess you can just do that as long as you score. So I guess everybody needs to go to Goldberg's spearing camp and practice that to score and just go straight through the opponent. But
Batista
it
bombs next.
yeah, Batista bombs next. DDTs and Stone Cold Stunners,
RKO's,
whatever. Yeah, RKO for the goal.
people's elbow.
Man, what about Cam Lancaster RKOing a guy and then with his feet still scoring? That would be pretty epic. It just didn't fall in our favor, and the red card I think really hurt our game plan, hurt our vibe. I did really like later in the game when we did the switch up and we had Robertson out as a wingback, and then we throw Brown as a wingback, which I mean, like I don't hate it with his speed. Like that's kind of a nasty move, Like he can burn everybody going up that field.
This is kind of weird to say, but when it was Khalid, Tate, Nico, and Atez like on the field and attacking,
Mm-hmm.
there was kind of some
Felt different.
chemistry there. Yeah, it felt good too. Like there was kind of something happening. Like if it was
Yeah.
maybe them in the beginning and they had more time together, there was something working there. I really liked what they were doing together. And
Yeah.
like that's just chemistry, and chemistry does that. And it's like what those guys, what those players are capable of. You can trust them to do those things.
Yeah. And I mean, like chemistry is going to keep building for this team. It is, but you're right. When you have players that have been together for over a year now, there's going to be chemistry, especially considering the positions they played for us. They're used to kind of building that stuff up for them. And there's no denying the fact that when Tate was on the field, he was dropping bombs into the box right and left. That one to Jorge, I thought Jorge was going to get that one in. And like, oh my gosh, right off the post. And like props to Ates for hustling after it. And then of course that slide tackle, which it was such a bang bang play. Like I can see where their keeper probably got the ball first, but still there's that petty side of me that's like, but he also got a lot of Ates. He got a lot of him sliding in from behind. And a One Knox fan was engaging with me on Twitter, and he wasn't like rude about it or anything, but he's like, "Oh, it was from the side." I went back and watched it, and I'm like, I went and watched it myself after that engagement. I was like, "Brother, that was not from the side. He came straight from behind him. It just happened that his foot was, just at the right spot to get the ball first, but he took Ates out." So
He
it is
really
what it
did.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But whenever you get the ball first, they're not going to call that type of stuff, and so how it just kind of falls, which sucks. It sucks that that type of stuff falls for us the way it does. I don't know if it was just like karma coming back to bite us after we talked so much about like Jaeger finally letting fate fall in our favor, and then here's the rug get yanked out from under us, and things didn't really work out. Not that anything was particularly like egregious or, oh man, we would have won if, but there are those little tiny things that were here and there. And so, but hey, I do respect going with a different look against a team that is a known quantity. It was worth a shot trying out a different formation, a different setup against. It was kind
I
of
liked
cool to
it.
see. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that formation setup. I really don't. I
Keep
would
working
say
with
like,
that.
yeah, the only thing that I kind of was like, I don't know. I mean, we already talked about Tate being on the field would have been great, but Onan being tucked so far inward, I think limited his speed. Because when we have him out wide, he's like Nico as well. Like him and Nico are just, man, they're so fast. They're just insanely fast. It's hard to fathom that human beings can be that quick. But putting him inside a little bit more, tucking him in some, I know it was very much like a defensive move, force Knox to play out wide and then see what happens versus letting him run down the middle. But man, I would have liked to see Onan be able to get freed up a little bit more, like even him being wing back and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like he's got the speed for it.
I want to say, like, no disrespect to Patty at all because he
Mhm,
played very well. And
mhm.
I really appreciated his effort. He played very well. No goals were let in when he was on the field. So
Yeah,
that has to be accounted for. And he made plenty of attacking runs too. And he was trying to get the ball into the box. He really went out there and performed well too. And, he got subbed off and, you know, we put Tate on, and that's a more attacking minded move, I guess you could say. And both work. I don't know. Like it
yeah.
is a conundrum to have so many players and figure out where everyone fits.
Yeah, I mean, we do have like a really good problem. Like even with all the injuries, we do have a lot of people that can fit in a lot of different places, which is really nice. And I
Oh,
hope that.
so then why
Go
isn't
ahead.
it working? Like
I know, and that's so funny because like we were getting into this, and I know we tend to do like the listener questions as their own separate thing. We decided it's weird. It feels weird. It feels weird to save it for the end because all the questions are about things we're already talking about anyway, and there were kind of like two different sets of questions along the same lines. We had two separate people that listen in that are asking like, why can't we beat One Knox? And then somebody else asked, what's the deal? Why can't we beat people? Like we can beat other teams. So they're very much of a similar vein. So, forgive me, all three of you, for lumping these three together, but they kind of really are just same. They're the
it's what's
same but
going
different, but
on.
same. Right. Knox, of course, spans years now at this point. I don't really know why we can't beat Mark McKeever. I'm not really sure because I feel like we've tried different approaches each time, um, other than just bad luck. I don't know because we keep trying something different every single time against them, and it just does not work. And I don't know why. I don't know if Mark McKeever has some secret spy, coming and flying a drone around LSC and then coming back and being like, here's what they're going to do. Let's go. He doesn't do that. I'm just kidding. Don't come after me, Mark McKeever. But yeah, at the same time, you start wondering, okay, what is the difference? It's hard. And as far as our woes, all I got is there are two things that stand out to me. Chemistry still isn't where it needs to be. And then the other thing that stands out to me is we have yet to have had a full squad available. Um, Injuries have been rampant. As soon as we get somebody back, we lose two other guys. We get somebody from that mix back, and then the guy that came back, we lose them, and it just builds and stacks and rinse, repeat. I'm extremely hopeful that we're going to start seeing some more of the guys come into action. I don't know that they will, but I just feel like, okay, we've got a lot of people that have been nursing injuries for a while. Maybe this extra bye week, because yet again, we have a bye week. Another bye week is on the table, which is so weird. Like, whenever I actually looked at our schedule and I noticed it, I was like, wait, what the heck? Like, there's no game this week. But maybe that's the next one we need. Maybe that's the next one we need. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's Loera back in it. There's Liotti back. We got Modesto back. Who knows?
These are names
Maybe
like we forgot
Agula,
about. Like didn't even know
right?
they. It's like,
Yeah,
geez.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as Leouty gets going, it's like,
something
he's on the
happens.
physio table. It's a bummer.
Right.
And I would chalk
Yeah.
a lot of it up to that. I mean, obviously availability is a huge ability, and
It's the best ability.
it is the best ability.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything really there in terms of like a mentality thing against One Knox. It could also just be that we've played how many matches? 4, 5 total all time. So maybe let's see this play out a little bit more. But the other flip side of it is I think winning is contagious a little bit too in terms of, and so is losing, I think. And you can ask Dylan, a big Philly fan, ask him if the process has worked for the Sixers. It's like you have so many seasons where and I'm not even trying to compare the two. So please, let's not,
Yeah.
don't tell me that we're tanking here in Lexington. I don't think that, but just
Yeah.
that general idea of like, if you, it's hard to just flip that switch, but all right, now let's start winning games. You know what I mean? Like we have the talent, now let's start winning games. Like I just think it's easier said than done. And I think we do have an extremely talented team, but the chemistry isn't there, as you mentioned, Tyler. That was something that really we saw middle of last summer was a great stretch for our club because it was like we finally got some consistency and some players really started showing up and the test was getting comfortable. And I mean, again, he didn't score for his first goal until like 10 matches in. So
Yeah.
it takes some time, but if you keep starting over, then it's just delaying that process, I think, of really getting, our guys in sync together because as you mentioned, there's so many injuries.
It's what it is. You hit the nail on the head, man. Like the constant restarting with the chemistry, because I know that they can go to training together, but it's different whenever you get that chemistry in game. And every week we're having to kind of do a new permutation because of injuries, or let's not forget too, like we haven't mentioned this, but red cards has also caused
Yes.
that rotation of our cast. You're right. We've amassed so many red cards already this season, and so we keep having to just plug and play new people and then figure out how they want to work together in real time. Not that they're not putting in the work in training. I know they are. I know that they're all trying to figure it out in training, but I don't know that anybody would argue that games are different. Games are different. Like whenever there's pressure, like true pressure, that's when your chemistry is tested. That's whenever you're going to find out how well do we click in these types of situations. And that's a question that keeps getting asked of us.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. Like, it's a complete lack of chemistry. I think there's a complete lack of creativity on the field. Like, when we come out starting, that doesn't really come in until maybe, like, I think Tate really, when he comes on the field, he's very creative, or when Yannick's on the field, but he hasn't been available, which is very unfortunate. It's a lack of
Mm-hmm.
decisiveness as well. Like, we take too long on the ball. We need to be quicker with, like, one touches on the ball and make quick things happen. We have a lot of quick guys, and like Jaden Oden, like he's a very quick player, and he needs to play off those one touches. And Abel Caputo can also do that very, very well. And there's none of that going on. And there's a complete lack of discipline. Like the yellow cards and the red cards, they're just out of hand. And some players are even like directly responsible for opponent goals. Like it's so evident too on the field that there are players who are just like making mistakes and a goal comes right off of it.
I have a question that is red card related. Will Ebby be available for the next match against Spokane because it's regular season and not Jaeger? Or
That carries
because
over.
it carries into the regular season?
Yep. Red cards carry.
Well, I meant because this was a Jaeger match, does it carry into a League
Yeah.
One match? Or will it just go to the next Jaeger Cup match, which would be, I think, the 29th?
I believe it carries into this next one because I
Even
think one of our
though
other,
even though it's a regular season match, not a Jaeger Cup match.
yeah, because I believe we had another one of our red cards come
That's
when there was
interesting.
a transition as well. I can't remember if it was a Malls or the Yannick and Tate one, where we got that. But if I remember correctly, there's that transition between the two, which I thought was weird that they're treated as separate competitions, but then you've got
Yeah.
that happening. So let's see, they got that in the Madison one, and then so that double red card.
For Tate and Yannick. It's great podcasting, by the way. Sorry.
Those were both Jägermeisters. So no, then that one's okay. And then Amal, which one did he get his out of? Is it Greenville, right?
Oh my god,
Yes.
I forgot.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So yeah, it was Greenville. Yeah. So no, I was mistaken. We didn't have one that led into it, but I could have sworn I heard somewhere that red card still carries forward. I mean, if I'm wrong,
I feel like it would have stayed just within the competition, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, my point is, maybe, I don't know, maybe trying some new things at the center back position wouldn't be the worst idea, and just trying to, find some of that solid footing, and maybe give some chances to a couple other younger fellows that maybe shined last year a little bit for us as well. So
yeah, and I thought Uche actually played decent. I didn't think he had a bad performance at all. I thought he stood his ground.
Yeah, Uche, like I was actually talking with a few other people that were there, and it was like you don't hear his name a whole lot, and it's almost like he kind of gets lost in the mix, but not for like bad reasons. It's like when a player gives you a performance that's forgettable because it's solid. You know what I mean? I think we talked about it with like Kabuto. Like sometimes he has games like that where it's like you don't really notice because there's not a lot of flash, but there's a lot of I'm doing what I need to do and I'm doing it well. And sometimes
it's like
that goes unnoticed.
I didn't whiff a bicycle kick. Like you didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Another hypothetical that we're just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like nothing happening that just makes it kind of feel like, what the heck. But, I don't know. I don't know that there's like a magic fix to this. I think the only thing that's going to help us is when we have all the people in sync. And I don't know when we can expect that. That's kind of up to the team, right? That's up to the team to figure out like when are we going to be on the same page and doing our thing. And it's tough.
It is tough though because we have so many players and there's 11 spots on the field too. So like where does everyone fit? Because there's so many. So even though like not everyone is healthy, we still have a talented roster.
Yeah.
So like what's the issue? It's hard to like just like make excuses for injuries. I don't know.
Yeah. When I think it just comes back to the chemistry thing, like even if we have like for like, it doesn't mean we have like for like in chemistry, even if it's like for like in ability. And I think that's where that keeps coming back up is like, this player is injured, but they have better chemistry with these players that we put into these spots. But now we got to use this player that doesn't have as good a chemistry with who I'd like to have in these spots. And I think that maybe we're seeing that, and I could be completely off. Maybe these guys have amazing chemistry that I don't know of, but I don't know if they did. I feel we would see better results on the field, and there'd be more clicking that is allowing us to overcome obstacles like Ford Madison, like One Knox. But that's not to say it won't come. We always got to go back. It has a possibility. It can start clicking at any time. There have been so many teams that I've watched, and watching League One before we even had a team. There have been seasons where teams are just like, what are we doing? We're like garbage. What's happening? We're not going to do good the rest of the season. And all of a sudden they find form, and it's like, what the heck just happened? And then they start running away with things. So it's possible. It's there. I'm going to stay hopeful as much as these results have been stinging. All you can do is support, right? At the end of the day, all you could do is,
I mean, yeah, I'd rather have the talent than not have it. And
yeah,
I think we talk a lot about the talent margin is so slim in this league, where one night you could beat a team 4-0 and the next night lose to the same team, by 4-0. So it really is just putting those performances together and being consistent that is going to start kind of building that form that you mentioned. But it's not impossible.
Yeah.
I think the anxiety this year just comes from the fact that there are fewer matches for the regular season because of the Jaeger Cup and things like that.
It's a very tight window to win either one. We don't have 32 matches for just one. Yes, more chances for silverware, but shorter windows to get either piece of silverware, which you're right, is kind of anxiety inducing.
It's also hard because there seems to have been a lot of expectations that have been put on us too, from, outside have predicted us to do very well, because of our signings. And I think our signings have been such a big deal. So it stands out that, when you make big signings and you're not getting off to a hot start, it shows.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So we've got Spokane next, and Spokane has been a pretty solid addition to the league. They're a team that, they're not unbeatable, but
they make things happen.
Yeah, and we're going to their house. And they've been drawing crazy crowds. We've talked about that before. They've got a killer environment, so it's going to be a tough one, us traveling all the way out west, and then staying up, for that game. It's 9 p.m. on a Sunday. So those of you guys that don't have summer break like I do, it might be a challenge. Just might have to dose up on some extra coffee, just have the pot rolling. But we'll see what happens. We got some time to get it right. We got some time to get healthy. I just hope that we use it and make the most of what we have. It'll click at some point. It will. But there's other news too that we could talk about. Let's get another just moment. Let's talk about something good. Stadium. Let's talk about the stadium. Okay. The LSC account posted a picture of seats and coming soon, right? And I don't know that everybody realized that it was literally being no, these are seats that are going in right now. I think some people just took it as, what is it? What's coming soon? Are they just saying the stadium's coming soon? Yes, but also we legit have seats out there now. I had a doctor's appointment out that way today, and so I kind of drove by, and I was like, there they are. We have at least a section of seats, and then of course what I assume to be the front entrance is coming along pretty fast. So it's really neat to see that we've got seats going there. Got green ones. I heard that it's going to be green and light green, like the spark green. So it's going to be both colors. The ones that are out there now are like the green that you saw in the post for LSC. I know that August is coming very, very quickly. And if anybody is a season ticket holder and talk to your rep, then you probably already know this. But the guys won't be playing in the stadium until early September, like our ladies will be for the Super League. So stadium probably still needs a little bit more time, but it sounds like they're still banking on it being early September, which isn't far away. We're so close, and seeing how much progress is there every single time you go by, it's kind of wild. It really is, seeing just piece after piece pop up seemingly out of nowhere. And then you start realizing the bones are almost all there for what's going to be an actual complete stadium. And really my biggest takeaway right now is One Knox has a empty barrel of bourbon, and we're going to have our own soccer specific stadium that's ours. So who's the real winner? Sorry, I I had to do that
Got
to
him.
cope. Had to do it to cope. I couldn't resist.
I actually, when I worked there, I was like, maybe we do a little Hayward Field action. I don't know if you all have seen where Oregon track and field runs. I mean, obviously
Mhm.
Oregon's like the most well-known track and field program in collegiate sports, but they always host the NCAA championships there, and they have like just a smattering of like different shades of green seats. It's really cool.
Yes.
Like you gotta look it up. I was like, man, that'd be cool to just have like various shades of green throughout, but
Yeah.
it's exciting. No, I mean it is. I've blamed a lot on not having our own venue, both when I was an employee and as a fan, and so a lot of those excuses will go away. I mean, all those problems will be remedied. Is the way I'm looking at it, and so no, I think it'll be great. I think a lot of the limitations that Georgetown brings hopefully are solved there in terms of just logistics, but then also just from an atmosphere standpoint too. I think if you have something that you can call your own, like it's our home, then it's just going to be better overall, and it's way better than sharing with the local college team like some people do in Knoxville.
Yeah. 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 I just wonder what they're gonna do when they can no longer be like, you play in Georgetown. And it's like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
tough. It's gonna be tough.
for like a year and a half until we get our own stadium, and you're still gonna be in somebody else's that you're renting, but whatever. It is what it is. Again, coping a little bit here. You have to forgive me, but gotta do what I gotta do. I don't know. We got stadium coming. It's gonna be here soon. If you don't have season tickets for the Super League, definitely check that out at least. I know the guys won't be in the stadium for a huge amount of time when you consider our season. It's going to be enough that it'll be cool. But the ladies will be in it the whole time that they're playing this season, which will be really rad. Hopefully, we'll start seeing some signings announced before too long. Considering I think that the Super League teams are, I'm pretty sure, allowed to start getting together for trainings and all the early stuff July 1st. So I feel like surely something will come relatively soon. We just might have to be a little bit more patient, and then it'll be there. We have to do the whole Squidward watching SpongeBob Patrick running through the blinds thing, like we mentioned before. But that's okay. It'll be worth it. We'll have our moments, and it'll be all good. It'll be all good. So just waiting. But I don't know, guys. We got that bye week. Father's Day is in the mix. I know I'm gonna capitalize on that, and just kind of chill. Probably grill myself. I'm like a weirdo. I don't even like really going out to eat for Father's Day. I just like getting a bunch of like food and grilling it myself. Which my wife was like, "Why are you doing this? Just like chill." I'm like, "No, it's okay. It's like a weird cathartic thing to just handle my own food." So I might hit up farmer's
Dude,
market and get
just
some like
dudes
real deal
grilling
stuff.
meat. Yeah,
Just dudes grilling
Oh
meat,
yeah.
dudes grilling.
just dudes grilling. So, yeah, I'm excited at least that I get to have a relaxing Father's Day and no stress of, um, possible results for LSC. I'll save the stress for right after Father's Day and then get back into the mix and then be thriving in it. It's good stress. It's good. It keeps the blood pumping. And whenever it all comes together, it'll come together. Let alone we also have the W League match that week too. So if you're really craving some extra action, you guys really should come check out the W League team. You really should. And that match against Indy is going to be cool. So we need to go out there, support the girls. We've said it before. Some of them, you can't help but think some of them are going to be on the Super League. You don't know. I don't know. But
There
go out and
were
see
some
them.
good players out there.
They're ballers. They're ballers.
Yeah.
They are. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised. So it's really cool getting those like first looks and stuff. But come out if you can. The W League games are free. They're free. I don't think the team's really been like advertising that as much here recently, but they
No, they
are.
haven't.
So there's no reason not to come out if you are looking for some extra LSC soccer, and it's quality soccer. Like I don't know, people are just scared away by it being pre-professional, and they're like, oh, I don't know. But then they'll go out to a collegiate game, and I'm like, it's literally a step above in some ways. You know what I mean? Like you have college players that you're going to watch anyway, and then you also have these other talents from other places and programs. Like we have players from Spain. We have, Kaylee Utley, who's like a monster, and makes me feel terrible because she's only like 5 years younger than me, and she's like crushing it on a soccer field, and my knee hurts perpetually. So
And also she's like a dentist or something. So
yeah, just
and maybe
doing
also in the
amazing
military.
things.
Am I like mixing things together here, or is this all one person? Anyway, yeah, doing
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. She basically does everything. Just has all the like the talents. What's the Dos Equis guy? Most interesting
the most
woman in the
interesting man
world.
alive.
That's
Yeah.
Kaylee Utley. She does
Yeah, she
everything.
graduated optometry. I'm reading my own press release from last year. Graduated optometry school and was a member of the U.S. Army Reserve. Man,
Yeah.
I feel like a piece of crap right now.
And then a monster on the soccer field. Just
Oh yeah.
everything. Like what are we
Yeah.
doing? Hey, we have a podcast, you know that?
You know
So
what? She has 0 podcasts, I bet.
she has 0 podcasts. Although it'd be cool if she came on here. So
That would
then
actually
she'll
be
have a
great.
Actually,
podcast, sort of. Yeah.
dude, if she
Yeah.
started a podcast, we'd be in trouble. So
Oh my God, that would be
We would.
crazy.
She'd put us out of
Yeah.
business. Now she's going to
Yeah.
do that on purpose. She'd be like, "Guess what, guys?
yeah.
Nobody listens to you anymore because I'm the podcast now."
Yeah.
Mm.
I would
All right.
listen.
Forget we said it.
I would
Forget we
stop
said
listening
it.
to us.
I would too. I would unsubscribe.
But
Yep, immediately.
it was kind of great because like I kind of fell into going to the match. Like it was kind of like on a whim. Like I had some things like planned out, and it just so happened that I had time for it, and I was like, oh my God, like this is great. Like, and it
Yeah,
was
it was awesome.
and like it's motivation to go to more. Like now I really really want to go to more
Yeah.
games. Like absolutely highly recommend, and especially like if you find yourself in that for like free time, because it's free too. It's free. Go. It's like it's huge upside for you because it's free. You should go. It's good. Attend. It's fun. Can't stress that enough.
100%. You heard it here. We got a free count going
And I just wanted to add,
with
it's
our vibe
free
count.
if you want to go.
What
Like
about the vibes?
The vibes and it's free. They're free
it's free.
vibes.
Free
Free
vibes
99. Price is
for
right.
vibing. There we go.
We're vibing
Free
for
99. I
free.
like that. I love it. All right. Well, it'll be a minute till we get back together. We have some more stuff to talk about. Hopefully some really great W League wins will be on our plate at that point. Keeping those vibes. There we go. We've got another one going. And then USL 1. Hopefully we have another uplifting results to talk about. Return back to that realm. It'd be amazing, but it's okay. Just make sure you guys go out, support the team. Even if you can't get out to games, watch them. That way, you have something to talk about with other people. Talk up the team, spread the word, get it out there. If you see us at games, come chat with us. A lot of people were chatting with me and Dylan yesterday at the W League game. It was cool. Again, just to have some people to chat soccer with. It was a great time. So get out there, support the team, look for us. Until the next episode, signing off for the CKL podcast.